Hey guys, in this video I'll be revisiting the 1996 Florida Pro where Flex Wheeler and Ronnie Coleman battled it out for first and second respectively. I haven't ever heard much of this show from a fan perspective, and while watching the comparison I grew skeptical of the results. Was a win gifted to the more aesthetic, more renowned Flex? Was Ronnie Coleman robbed at this show? Let's get into it. The front double showcases the stark differences in these two physiques. Flex looks absolutely statuesque, sporting a non-existent waist and great midsection definition, full biceps and triceps, and perfectly swept quads. Ronnie, not yet his massive self, doesn't have the same aesthetics as Flex, but has some of his trademark attributes, namely his huge, seemingly unproportional arms, massive bowed quads, flared lats, and a relatively trim waist. Since this isn't the best video footage, it is hard to tell who is in better or worse condition. Add to the fact that the pictures are far and few between, it just makes it harder to discern the smaller details. Now, it does seem like both have similar cuts in the quads, arm separation, and midsection detail, so I'd say that frontally they are roughly even. Personally, Flex stands out to me much more than Ronnie, as he has just as much size in the limbs, while presenting much more beautiful flow. Although he isn't as good in the lats, he wins the torso and V-taper convincingly due to his shapeliness, and is at an even playing ground when it comes to the quads and arms. Definitely a close pose, however, I would go with Flex. The front lat spread is certainly tight, as these two are exceptional. Flex is almost perfect here, showcasing pristine lines and great bubbly roundness, however, he isn't nearly as wide as Ronnie. In contrast, Ronnie's structural superiority is clearly noticeable, as his clavicle width is ideal for creating an imposing shot. Both are similarly developed in the arms, shoulders, and quads. However, Ronnie seems to have a visible advantage in the outer quad sweep, lats, and in the chest. While it wasn't as noticeable in the front double due to the differences in posing, Flex's quads now appear less flared, which detracts from the size illusion that he once created. Now, again, both seem to be similarly conditioned, however, Ronnie's size is undeniably more impressive as he fills out the pose to a greater extent. I'd give Ronnie the win for that matter, however, nobody is denying that Flex is the more pleasing one to look at. Aw man, it really just hurts to see Ronnie hitting the side chest earlier on, as he had absolutely zero clue how to present that side leg. Just look at how flimsy and shallow his hamstring looks next to Flex's. He's making two major mistakes in posing the side leg. Number one, flexing his hamstrings, and number two, not pressing it against the far leg. Just for this alone, I'd give Flex the win downstairs, and it's a shame since Ronnie is undoubtedly more conditioned and similarly sized in the side leg. Thankfully, upstairs is a better situation for Ronnie, as he presents an incredibly dense, defined, and impressive upper half. While Flex is comparable in raw size, the quality thickness that Ronnie has in the chest, arms, and delts is a bit too much for Flex. Moreover, I'm not the biggest fan of Flex's oddly angular physique, not saying he's using site enhancements or anything, rather it's just my personal preference. For instance, just look at the pointiness of his elbows, even with his abnormally small side leg. Despite it not being a home run victory for Ronnie by any means, he definitely takes the pose in my book. The rear double is where Ronnie takes things up a notch, as he is smoking Flex in almost every area. Take a look at the width of the lats, the shreds in the hamstrings, and the striations of the glutes. All three are dominant victories for Ronnie, with Flex only standing a chance in the arms. Even then, Ronnie's biceps are peakier and his triceps are similarly swept, with little size discrepancy. Although I am a huge fan of Flex, especially his rear double, there is no denying that he is losing badly. He may have a more aesthetic flow and superior lines, however those soft hamstrings, watery glutes, and narrow lats aren't getting past Ronnie. Ultimately, Flex's downfall as of right now would be that soft lower body, which leads to a rather easy win for Ronnie. Here in the rear lat spread, a similar scenario plays out to that of the last pose. Once again, Ronnie utterly destroys Flex in the glutes and in the hamstrings, having super dry, shredded conditioning. Flex's hamstrings do look a bit better thanks to the lighting, however you can still make out that thin film of water covering any intricate detail hiding underneath. This is even more apparent when looking at his glutes, which are smoother than his head. His back doesn't look all that bad, however he is known for hitting a rather asymmetrical rear lat spread. While he does present a seemingly symmetrical pose, Ronnie absolutely obliterates him in the width of the lats and in the traps, and arguably has a better lower back as well. Ronnie's back isn't at the same level of density that he would have 2 or 3 years later, however, it's definitely still enough to beat Flex. Combine that with his stellar lower body and you get a landslide victory in the pose. The side tricep is a pose which nobody seemed to want to hit back in the day apart from Dorian Yates. I don't know why that's the case since both have rather decent side triceps. In this first variation, you can see that Flex doesn't lock out his arm, which hurts his flow. On the other hand, Ronnie locks his out, creating a more polished pose. Still, Flex has a genetically superior tricep as the fullness and the insertions he has are miles ahead of Ronnie's. Flex also presents a much more detailed midsection, a thicker side leg, and a full chest, which all look very impressive. Once again, Ronnie's absolutely terrible side leg execution hurts my soul, as I fully believe that he would have easily taken that area. I mean, he's winning in the chest and delt, and if he had the side leg, he'd be twice as competitive. Now, when Flex hits this second variation, it's game over for Ronnie. I mean, his aesthetics are tied in perfectly with that midsection, and he clearly has the better tricep and flow. Even when Ronnie locks into his second variation, he isn't coming close to beating Flex, who has him beat in basically every important aspect. The last pose, the ab and thigh, is another Flex Wheeler domination. Just look at the abs, serratus, obliques, and tell me he isn't perfectly dialed in. Sure, he doesn't have the best V-taper, which handily goes to Ronnie due to the wider nature of his clavicles and lats. However, he has a smaller waist and genetically superior abs. The quads are definitely close between the two, with Ronnie and Flex showcasing feathering on their outer quads, with Flex's being a bit more prominent. In short, Flex not only has a more aesthetic midsection, he also has great quads, solid conditioning, and superb flow, all necessary components to win the pose. Ronnie, who is rather decent, has a good structure, phenomenal quads, and comparable condition, but isn't pieced together as well and lacks that stellar midsection. For that reason, I'd go with Flex, as his ab and thigh pose might just be one of the best out of the 90s, alongside guys like Sean Ray, Lee Priest, among others. Although you're going to see them hit the most muscular in a few variations, the pose was not judged and therefore does not count to the comparison, therefore concluding the judging. In short, I had this comparison ending in a 4-3 win for Ronnie, as he convincingly won the back poses and took the front lat spread and side chest. There's definitely an argument for Flex winning the side chest, however, the same can be said about Ronnie in the front double. Flex did win the side tricep and ab and thigh in a similarly dominant manner to that of Ronnie in the back poses, however, his conditioning held him back. How he won is beyond me, as his conditioning was subpar at best, from behind specifically, and he wasn't nearly as dense as Ronnie in certain areas. Sure, his aesthetics were miles ahead of Ronnie, however, I can't help but think that politics were involved, as the IFBB would have wanted a top Olympian and an extremely eye-pleasing physique to be crowned the winner and represent the highest echelon of bodybuilding. Regardless, Flex won the show, with Ronnie coming in second, and we all know how their careers played out after. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, let me know down below, and I'll see you all in the next one, and like always, thanks for watching.